"You'll never make it without me," he scoffed like those words were some sort of prophecy. At that moment, with nothing but tears in my eyes and a suitcase in my hand, I almost believed him. Almost. Hi and welcome to Judgy Tales, where we turn heartbreak into justice, humiliation into triumph, and every betrayal into a story worth telling. If you've ever been underestimated, if someone told you that you weren't enough, that you'd fail without them, then this one's for you. It's about a woman who gave everything, time, energy, support, dreams, to a man who took it all for granted. A man who thought she was only valuable as long as she stayed under his shadow. He thought cutting her off would be the end of her. But what he didn't realize is that he had just handed her the fuel she needed to rise, higher, stronger, and more unstoppable than ever before. And let me tell you something, when people try to bury you, when they mock you on your way down, they never imagine the noise you'll make on your way up. They never expect the glow up, the comeback, the revenge written not in anger but in quiet, blazing success. This isn't just about money or status or payback. This is about dignity. About rising with grace after someone tried to tear you down with cruelty. About proving, not to them but to yourself, that their words don't define your future. You see, our main character didn't come from wealth or privilege. She wasn't born into connections or comfort. But what she had was vision. Grit. The kind of inner fire no insult could extinguish. Still, being in love, real love, or at least what she thought was love, made her blind to the manipulation growing around her like ivy, slowly choking the light from her life. She didn't notice the red flags, the subtle gaslighting, the way he'd make her doubt herself more and more each day. But it all changed the day he said those 7 little words. "You'll never succeed without me." There's something about being told you're not enough, that you don't deserve to dream big, that can either break you or awaken something in you. And she chose the latter. She chose herself. And in doing so, she launched a journey that would flip everything upside down. Now, before we dive into the full story, let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone laugh at your ambition? Someone who pretended to support you only to sabotage you behind your back? Have you ever walked away from a toxic relationship and thought, was I ever truly seen for who I am? If that's you, you're not alone. And this tale might just give you the satisfaction of knowing that sometimes, karma doesn't knock, kicks the door in. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and get ready for a journey filled with betrayal, grit, unexpected allies, and the kind of sweet, soul-stirring justice that only life itself can deliver. Because this isn't just a story of revenge. This is about reclaiming your worth even when the world, or the one you loved most, said you had none. This is Judgy Tales. And this is the story of how he regrets telling her she'd fail. The story begins in a small town in Colorado, where winters are white, people are familiar, and dreams are as small as a dying flame. There, a girl named Marley Quinn grows up in a working-class family, where her father is an auto mechanic and her mother is a night nurse. Her family is not wealthy, but they are loving. The only thing Marley has in abundance is a dream. A dream to open a bookstore and cafe where people can find both good stories and themselves. Since childhood, Marley has been passionate about books and art. While other kids run outside to play hide and seek, she sits for hours in the public library, reading anything from short stories, novels, to old business books that no one cares about. She believes that the world can be changed through words, and that one day she will create a space where that can happen. But that dream has never been easy. Her family struggled financially. College was out of the question, and Marley soon dropped out to work part-time at a small diner to help support her parents. There she met Gavin. Gavin was unlike the other boys in town. He had good looks, a sweet tongue, and ambitions bigger than the city could hold. He talked about leaving town, building an empire, becoming someone. Marley found Gavin inspiring at first. Finally, someone understood what it meant to want more. To have a life that wasn't just about working and sleeping, to write your own story. Gavin began courting Marley, and before long they were inseparable. He would regularly take Marley to upscale coffee shops in a big city hours away, talking about plans for companies, real estate investments, even inspirational podcasts. But the thing was, those plans always required capital. And the first person Gavin convinced to go along financially was Marley. From small payments under the guise of startup costs, to advising Marley to withdraw her savings to invest in their future together, Gavin manipulated her feelings so skillfully that she didn't realize she was giving up everything. Her time, her money, her own dreams, to become a supporting character in Gavin's dreams. They moved into a small apartment together in Denver. Marley quit her job in town to follow Gavin in building her personal brand. She took care of everything behind the scenes, from writing content, editing videos, managing client emails, even pretending to be Gavin's assistant when he needed to add value to his partners. While Gavin appeared flashy in front of the camera, Marley was the one doing the work of a team. And then Marley discovered the truth. One night when Gavin came home drunk, his phone fell to the floor. The message was still on the lock screen. A murky conversation between Gavin and another woman. Not just about the affair, but Gavin calling Marley a walking wallet, and saying he just needed to keep her long enough to save up money and then dump her. Marley's heart was broken. She had not only been emotionally betrayed, but also manipulated, used, made to believe that if she left Gavin she would be nothing. And that was when everything changed. The next day when Marley confronted Gavin, he showed no remorse. He even smiled faintly and said the sentence that would define our entire story. "You think you can survive without me? You're nothing. You'll fail and come back crying." It was at that moment when he spoke harshly, his eyes full of contempt as if he were disciplining a foolish child, that Marley realized she had forgotten her worth for too long. She let someone else write the first chapter of her life, but she was the one who decided the next. Marley left. No money, no job, no stable place to live. But she left with something more important: the determination to live for herself. Marley's story, starting from the place where she was most despised, is where it all truly began. She had no idea where she was going, what she was doing, or how she was going to start. But for the first time in years she felt free. And sometimes it's when you're pushed down into the abyss that you discover wings you never knew you had. I remember very clearly the day everything fell apart. The day he looked me straight in the eye with a cold gaze and said, "You will never succeed without me." That sentence was not only an insult, but also a blow to the fragile faith I was trying to hold on to. We used to be a hopeful couple, at least I thought so. But at that moment I realized he never believed that I could stand on my own 2 feet. And the worst thing? I believed him. It all started when I decided to quit my job at the design company to pursue my own dream, to open a handicraft shop, where I could turn sleepless nights with a needle and thread into emotional products. I had a strong passion for traditional art, for things that were personal and had spiritual value. But when I shared that idea with him, he laughed. "Do you think you can make a living selling those handmade things? The world out there is cruel. You have no business sense, you are just dreaming too much." I swallowed my tears. Although I was hurt, I tried to endure. I thought maybe he was just worried about me. But things became clearer when I started preparing for my small shop. Not only did he not support me, he tried to stop me in every way. He criticized me in front of my friends, calling my idea childish. When I designed a logo for the brand, he said it looked like a kindergarten assignment. When I made my first website, he didn't even look at it for a second, simply saying, "No one wants to buy that garbage." I thought I could change his mind by doing better, trying harder. But the harder I tried, the colder he became. He was sarcastic, he even told my mother that I was wasting my life on a fantasy. The climax came when I got my first order. A woman bought a hand-embroidered bracelet that took me 3 days to make. I jumped for joy and ran home to share it with him. But instead of congratulating him, he laughed coldly and said, "A $20 order? What do you think that proves? That's loose change. You're still a dreamy loser." I stood there, my emotions shattered. It was no longer suspicion. It was contempt. And then that night I heard him on the phone with a friend, saying that he was waiting for me to be disillusioned and return to the real world. The real world? He meant the boring office job that I used to feel lost in every day. I stopped crying. I just quietly packed my things and left the apartment we used to call home. I didn't have much. A few clothes, an old sewing machine, a few rolls of fabric. There were no goodbyes, no tears. Just a silent, painful but necessary end. The days that followed were hell. I had to sleep on a friend's sofa. Some days I ate only instant noodles and instant coffee. But it was in those darkest moments that I realized I had shaken off the heaviest thing, the doubt he had sown. I started over. I took pictures of each product with my old phone, wrote each description with all my heart. I posted on Etsy, on Instagram. I sent the products for free to small bloggers for reviews. Some were silent, some refused. But some came back to order. 1 order, then 2, then 3. I spent the night embroidering, wrapping, replying to customers. Each order was a silent applause from the universe, as if someone was saying, "Keep going, you're on the right path." Once I was turned down for a bank loan because I didn't have a good credit history. I almost gave up. But then I thought, if I give up, what he said will come true. And I couldn't let that happen. I turned to the online creative community, learned how to raise money from loyal customers. I started a Kickstarter campaign, told my story, shared every product, every photo, every tear. People started listening. They didn't just buy the product, they supported the journey. One customer wrote, "I bought this bracelet not just because it's beautiful but because it represents your strength. Thank you for not giving up." That sentence saved me. And it made me realize, success isn't about revenue, it's about inspiring someone. I started collaborating with local shops, holding small workshops where I taught women how to embroider and tell stories with fabric. I don't just create products. I create space for broken souls like me. A few months later, on a rainy morning, I received an email from a major fashion company. They wanted to collaborate on a limited edition line of handmade accessories inspired by my designs. I sat there, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. I had dreamed of this, and now it was real. When I signed my first contract, I cried. Not because of the money, but because I had proven that no one had the right to tell you that you couldn't do it. Not even the person you loved the most. A year after I left him, I was featured in a local magazine sharing my journey from failure to success. The article went viral. And you know what? It was him, the one who had told me I was worthless, who sent me a message. It was short, "I'm proud of you." I was wrong. I didn't reply. I didn't need his validation anymore. What I needed, I had belief in myself. I sat alone in my small rented room, the four walls as bare as the sarcastic words Ethan had once thrown at me. "You can't do it. You're not good enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough to succeed without me," he had said, as if he were passing judgment on a loser. But that moment, the moment he slammed the door shut behind him and left me in ruins, became the biggest turning point in my life. I had failed, yes, but not in the way he expected. I had failed to learn how to get back up. And then I began to devise a plan, not only to prove that I could succeed, but also to force Ethan to look directly at the biggest mistake of his life. I started from scratch. No money, no support, no one to trust. But I had something more important than anything else. Anger driven by a desire to prove my worth. I listed everything I had accomplished during my time with him. From designing the brand identity for the small company we started together, to the sleepless nights spent writing marketing strategies that he didn't bother to read, but still used as his own. I didn't need much, just remembering that to realize I had been the foundation for his success, and I could absolutely build an empire of my own. I threw myself into learning again. Working as a waitress in a coffee shop during the day, taking online courses in depth on digital marketing, data analysis, and personal branding at night. I learned to make the most of every penny I earned, investing in knowledge, tools, and most importantly, in vision. I didn't just want to succeed, I wanted to succeed smartly, systematically, strategically. Not to make Ethan regret it, but so that I would never have to bow my head again. After 6 months, I started taking on small contracts, designing logos, running ads for Etsy shops, helping a few young influencers build their personal Instagram campaigns. Client by client, lesson by lesson, I rebuilt my reputation. But the real plan began when I found out that Ethan was raising money for a new project. An e-commerce platform that combined live streaming. The idea was not bad, but it was something I had sketched out while I was with him. And of course, no credit. I wasn't angry. I laughed. Because I realized, the opportunity to give it all back was right in front of me. I didn't need to expose him or expose him on social media. I just needed to do one thing, make the first move. I started my own agency that focused on e-commerce startups. I invited young founders who lacked strategy and resources, and I provided them with a complete solution from A to Z. Branding, marketing, digital platform. I worked for less than the market price, but the service was superior because I had been doing it for Ethan for 3 years without getting paid. I created a buzz. Former clients who had been rejected or abandoned by Ethan came to me. Some of his former partners started gossiping that I was the one behind the initial success of the old project. Ethan was furious, and I knew it because he started bringing my name up in meetings even when no one mentioned it. That's when I decided to go public with my project, Echo Wave. the first livestream shopping platform built by women, for women entrepreneurs and independent content creators. Not only did it compete head-on with Ethan's project, it also had a distinct advantage. The technology was developed by a team of female programmers, the interface was more intuitive, the fees were lower, and most importantly, all creators got a fair share of the commission, something Ethan had never thought of. My plan was not just revenge. It was a statement. A statement that I didn't need to shout, "I am valuable." My actions and accomplishments would speak louder than words. When Ethan held his press conference to launch his platform, I live-streamed it on EchoWave, with over 20 influencers simultaneously promoting products on the platform I built. Ethan was overshadowed not by scandal, but by the fact that he was no longer the only one on the playing field he once controlled. That I didn't respond with vitriol or insults. I responded with results. I didn't need to make him lose everything, just make him see that he had lost someone who could build everything from nothing. He had said I would never make it without him. But now he was the one silently watching my every move in silence and regret. And that was just the beginning. Because my real plan wasn't just to prove that I could succeed. It was to create a place where people like me who had been underestimated could prove their worth. So that no one would ever have to hear, "You'll never amount to anything," without having the chance to respond. My revenge plan was not just a simple response, but also a valuable lesson for those who had looked down on me, who had thrown me away like a worthless leftover. When they thought they had succeeded in pushing me out of their lives, I just sneered in my heart. I knew the path ahead and I was ready to go through it, no matter how many difficulties and challenges I had to face. At first, loneliness, disappointment and hurt surrounded me like a tidal wave. I lost everything. My house, the warmth of my family, my trust, and especially my belief in myself. They thought that by pushing me out of the house, taking away my assets and close relationships, I would collapse completely. But no, that was the trigger for an inner revolution. A fierce awakening, where I realized that only I could save myself and revenge was the only way for me to prove my worth. I started to rebuild my life step by step from zero, no longer relying on anyone, no longer having any life buoy to cling to. Every day was a battle to survive and develop. At first I worked small, hard jobs, from serving in coffee shops, selling goods, doing manual labor. I learned new skills, took extra courses on business and investment. I cherished every little bit of progress and turned it into motivation to go further. Gradually I opened my own small store. At first no one knew, no one cared. But I did not give up, persevered every day, listened to customers and constantly improved products and services. I knew that success does not come from luck but from hard work and the right strategy. After a while the store grew. I started to expand branches, recruit employees and step into a broader business field. People started to pay attention. The people who once abandoned me now look at me with a mixture of amazement and surprise. No one could have imagined that the girl who was kicked out of her home could run a small but strong business empire on her own. When the news of my success spread, my old family began to feel worried, even scared. They were confident that I would never achieve anything, that I would be a burden to them for the rest of my life. But reality proved the opposite. Their cruel treatment became the direct cause for me to rise up and explode strongly. They came to me trying to ask for forgiveness, begging for help when they were in financial trouble. But I did not forget what they did to me. I know that forgiveness is not always the right thing to do, especially when people have not truly repented and still hold on to their old thoughts. I showed them that no one is invincible if they know how to stand up and fight properly. Every step I took was recognized by the media, creating an image of a strong woman who refused to give in to adversity. I became an inspiration to others who had been rejected, abandoned, and underestimated. I am a living testament to never letting anyone define your worth. However, no matter how successful I am, I still keep myself humble, and the biggest lesson: revenge is not just about hurting others but about making myself better and stronger. True revenge is an inner victory, a constant growth and a strong self-esteem. My life is no longer the life of an abandoned person, but of a person who has turned wounds into strength to rebuild everything from scratch. I not only enrich myself but also create jobs for others, help people who have had the same difficulties as I have experienced. That makes me feel that this life is more meaningful than ever. Of course, people in my old family still have regrets in their hearts, but I don't care about that anymore. I leave them with a lesson about waste and failure when they don't know how to appreciate others, when they underestimate the most loved ones. The end of the story is not a stopping point, but a milestone that opens new pages. I have many plans, many goals, and many challenges ahead. I want to inspire you that even if you are pushed to the bottom, there is still a way to rise up and take control of your life. Don't let anyone else decide your fate, and never give up no matter how difficult it is. Now I want to ask you, if you were me, what would you do if you were abandoned and penniless? Do you believe in your own power to change your life? Or would you give up and accept your fate? Leave your comments below. I would love to hear your stories and opinions. And if you find this story inspiring, don't forget to like, subscribe to Judgy Tales, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next interesting videos. We will have many more emotional stories and valuable lessons in the upcoming videos. Thank you for joining me today. Today's story has taken us on an emotional journey, from being abandoned penniless to building a strong financial empire that made those who once looked down on her regretful. Now I would like to take the time to reflect with you and share my views on the profound lessons that the story brings. First, let's ask an important question. What do you think about the main character's reaction to the harsh situation? Is her revenge the only way to find justice? Or is there another, gentler way to deal with that betrayal and pain? In life, we often have to face injustice, being misunderstood, or even being abandoned by our loved ones. That feeling is truly painful, and how each person reacts will create a different story. Some people choose to forgive, some choose to stay silent and endure, but there are also those who choose to stand up and fight to prove themselves. What do you think about revenge? Is it the best way to resolve conflicts? Or can revenge lead to negative consequences, hurting yourself? Share your views. In addition, the story also shows the power of will and perseverance. When defeated, the main character does not give up but starts over from zero, learns, works hard, and constantly develops himself. Have you ever experienced such difficult times? So how did you overcome them? In particular, this story also has hidden aspects about family, love, and betrayal. Loved ones can be the greatest source of encouragement, but can also be the cause of the most suffering. What do you think about the role of family in each person's life? When your family is no longer your support, what will you do to stand firm? Also, is forgiveness always necessary? In this case, the main character refused to forgive those who abandoned him. Do you agree with this decision? Or do you think that forgiveness will help heal wounds and ease all conflicts? Another question worth pondering is, does a person's worth really depend on wealth or financial success? In the story, the main character uses his success as a way of revenge. But is success always the measure of a person's worth? What do you think is really important? I would also like to hear your stories. Have you ever been abandoned or underestimated by those close to you? What did you do to overcome it? Is your story similar or different from today's story? Share with the community in the comments section, as your story may become a source of motivation for others. Also, let's discuss fairness in social relationships. How do you know when to stop forgiving and when to stand your ground to protect yourself? Should you accept being hurt to maintain harmony, or should you speak up to protect your rights even if it means losing a relationship? Your responses will help create a positive discussion space where every story, every point of view is respected and listened to. Use the comments section to express your thoughts, tell your story, or ask questions for everyone to discuss. Finally, I want to emphasize that every story here is a lesson about life, about resilience, and about your own worth. No matter what you are going through, remember that you are not alone. The Judgy Tales community is here to listen, empathize, and share. So what do you think? Can you forgive those who have hurt you? Have you ever proven your worth by standing up strong after a failure? Do you think revenge is necessary, or do you choose to deal with it in other ways? Share your thoughts below and join this meaningful conversation. Don't hesitate to tell your own story, because who knows, your story may be the spark that inspires many others. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's story on the Judgy Tales channel. If you find this video meaningful, touching, or inspiring, don't forget to give us a like. The like button not only helps our videos reach more people, but it is also a way for you to show your support and encouragement for the honest and emotional stories that we want to send to everyone. If you are not yet a member of the Judgy Tales family, quickly press the subscribe button now so you don't miss any future videos. Every week, we prepare real, profound stories that have the power to connect emotionally and open up new perspectives on life, family, betrayal, and how we overcome adversity. Subscribing to the channel is the best way for you to accompany us on this journey. Especially, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that every time we release a new video, you will receive a notification immediately. You will not have to worry about missing out on good stories, important life lessons, as well as humane sharing articles that the channel brings. Turning on notifications also helps you become the first to watch, discuss, and share your views with our community. In addition, please take a moment to comment below the video. We appreciate all your opinions, feelings, and stories. Comments not only help connect people, create a vibrant sharing community, but also are a great motivation for us to make more quality videos. Don't hesitate to tell us your story, whether it is a heartbreaking experience or a turning point in life. We are here to listen and share with you. If you know someone who is also going through difficult circumstances, or has been treated unfairly like in the video, please share this video with them. Who knows, it will help them feel less lonely, find faith and motivation to overcome all challenges. The power of real stories and empathy is the strongest bridge between people. Finally, Judgy Tales is always committed to bringing you genuine, profound, and meaningful content. You are the reason why we constantly strive and create. Please continue to follow and accompany us on the journey to discover dramatic everyday stories, heart-touching lives, and valuable life lessons. Once again, thank you very much for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell now. See you in the next videos of Judgy Tales.